Hello and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug, and today we're taking a look at the Zealot. So, since patch 15 part 2, there hasn't been many changes to the actual skill tree, but we have had some new weapons drop. So I've been fiddling around with them, and yeah, it's more Eviscerator stuff, but we do have a little bit of choice now. So let's take a look. So we'll go over the builds first. I do actually have two builds for you today, and this is what they look like. So build 1, pretty simple. We start off over here on the right side of the tree. We're going from Backstabber into Scourge, Blood Redemption, down into Enduring Faith, and then over here on the left, taking Disdain, Enemies in, Enemies without, down into Bleed for the Emperor, Stunstorm Grenade, grabbing the melee damage boost here, and the toughness damage boost here, then down into Duelist, Desperation, Benediction, Fury of the Faithful, and this is absolutely amazing. This regenerates toughness and gives you attack speed, and your next melee hit gains plus 25% damage, I assume, and is a guaranteed critical hit. They still haven't actually said what it gets 25% of. I'm assuming it's damage. And then we take Redoubled Zeal for 2 charges of it. Now along here, we're going to be picking up Sustained Assault, Faithful Frenzy, and coming down here on the left for Punishment into Invocation of Death, Blazing Piety, Fury Rising, and Righteous Warrior. So this is a very crit heavy build, which works wonders with the Heavy Eviscerator with Shred and Rampage on it. Shred is very important for this to give you those boosts to crit, and Rampage is just a nice big damage boost. But this build does work very, very well with both the old Eviscerator and the new Eviscerator. So as you can see, I've got one here. It's not great, but it does have flak armor and crit with Shred and Rampage. And I've also got a newer version, the Mark 15, with Maniac, Flak, Shred and Rampage. And this build does work very nicely with the new chain axes as well. Here I'm using Maniac, Slaughterer, and Thunderous. I'm not entirely 100% set on the perks and blessings here, so don't take this as gospel. But Slaughterer and Thunderous do work very well, as Thunderous puts the brittleness debuff on anything you touch, and Slaughterer is just a stacking damage buff. So it all works pretty well with the chain weapons. As for the ranged weapon, I'm still using the Quickdraw Stub Revolver with Maniac and Specialist damage on it. I've only got Specialist because that's just what came on it. I would probably go for Flak, as that's one of the most widely used armor types in the game. And blessing-wise, Hand Cannon, which has been heavily nerfed. So it is not quite... well, it's not nearly as good, but it's still pretty good. And Surgical, which is the stacking crit while aiming. As for Curios, I'm using Health, Toughness, and Health, with a mixture of Toughness, Max Health, and Toughness Regeneration Speed on them. We don't really need the cooldown to ability, which is why I've taken extra Toughness and Health over ability regeneration. And this is a pretty standard crit Eviscerator build, but we also have this build. So it starts off more or less the same. Backstabber into Scourge, down into Enduring Faith, and the same along here with Disdain, Enemies in, Enemies out, Bleed for the Emperor, Stunstorm Grenade, Duelist, Until Death, Holy Revenant, Benediction, into Fury of the Faithful, Redoubled Zeal, and this is where we vary at the bottom. We are taking Punishment down into Invocation of Death. We're still taking Faithful Frenzy, but we're going down into Inexorable Judgment. This is a very, very fast-paced build, which is quite fun to play around with. I've been using this one more than the Blazing Piety build recently. So we're taking Swift Certainty into Inexorable Judgment and Inebriate's Poise. gain 3 stacks of momentum on a successful dodge. This is a very fast-paced build with lots and lots of dodging, but you do hit like an absolute truck. So with this, we're basically using the same weapon loadout, which is a heavy Eviscerator with Shred and Rampage, and you can pretty much use whatever ranged weapon you like. I do tend to still use the quick draw stub revolver, but you can, if you want to, use like a braced auto gun. With this, I've got Fire Frenzy and Death Spitter, and the perks are just locked because that's what they came with. I would generally take Maniac and Flak if you could, but I'm just using what it has. You can also use a flamethrower if you want to, but I do lean quite more towards the auto guns or the quick draw stub revolver. I would suggest using the quick draw stub revolver over the braced auto guns because it fills in a gap in your arsenal, which is the Eviscerator is extremely good with dealing with hordes and mixed armor. But if you need to snipe an elite, say a sniper, bomber, whatever, the revolver will pretty much take them out no problem. So yeah, so these are the 2 builds I've been using recently. Sorry, I just poked my mic. I've been having a lot of fun with them. So I hope you do too. And if you do, please like, subscribe, hit that little bell for notifications. It really does help us out. And check out the members area if you fancy it. So until the next video, enjoy folks, take it easy, and I'll see you later.